Welcome to the Sewing Machine Repair Guy. Today I'm going to do a quick video just to go through some of the tools that I use when I go on to work on sewing machines at a site. Today I went to a factory where I worked on a bunch of bar tack machines, which are industrial machines that are used to sew like seat belts and things like that, where it moves around the fabric or webbing and then makes a box stitch with an X in it. And it's something you can look up on YouTube and see what they look like. But I worked on a bunch of those, and it was the first time I had ever worked on those, so I brought more tools than I needed. But I'm going to go through and show you what I brought and show you what worked and what didn't. So here we have first thing is my vacuum that I brought. I bought this specifically for this job because I wanted to have my own power source for the vacuum, and I wanted to be able to rely on this and not have to plug it in anywhere. And this worked out really great. I worked for about 8 hours, did 5 different machines, and the battery on this lasted the entire time. The reason I went for this brand is because I already have the batteries, because I use their tools, and I'm a big fan of these Makita tools and the batteries that they have. So I also brought this. I don't use this typically on sewing machines, but I always bring it wherever I go because you never know when you need to have a power screwdriver. All right. So next is my tool bag. I'm going to go through some of the tools in here. I have modified this tool bag, and I really love how it works out. So we'll go through some of these things. First is my box that I bring everywhere. Whenever I work on a sewing machine, I use this box. This is, if I have nothing else, I have this box with me. So here's the basics that I use for sewing machines. I've got a little box of needles here. These are the needles that I use. These are just regular sewing machine needles. You saw in one video where I had to use this as a magnet. So this is a screwdriver. It's just a cheap screwdriver. Has a magnet that holds the bit in place, and I can also use this to fish things out. I got a little pry thing. Wonder where I got that. Oh, let's turn it the right way. But this helps to pry open some things. Now, I won't use this on a plastic case unless I know I'm not going to scratch the plastic. My plastic pry tools are separate, but I didn't bring those for this application because these were industrial machines and they were not plastic. I have a feeler gauge set. This is something that I've had for years. It's got rust on it and whatever, but it still works pretty well. And this is actually an automotive one, but it works great for me. Another thing I use for measuring, this is a Starrett. So Starrett's a pretty big brand name when it comes to precision instruments. And this is a tiny ruler set. So you've got from a 1/4 inch, that's a 1/4 inch ruler. I'm going to try and do this without dropping it. So a 1/4 inch ruler up to a 1 inch ruler, and then it's got this little, whoops, see, I almost dropped it there. It's got this little holder, so you put the ruler in there. Now I got this on eBay, so I got it cheaper than brand new because they are pretty expensive since they are precision instruments. But there you go, there's the 32nd side, and then that's the 64th side. So that's a pretty neat little ruler set. A lot of times I use the 1/4 inch when measuring the feed dog height, because that's about what most of the specs are. And then we got some screwdrivers here that we're going to talk about. So a lot of times you get in those tight spots, you need an angled screwdriver, or I've also got a ratcheting screwdriver, which works very well, and it changes position. This is a little cheapie that I got at probably Harbor Freight, if I were to guess. A couple of wrenches that I like to keep on me at all times when I'm working on sewing machines. 6mm, 7mm, and a 1/4 inch. So those are small enough to keep in my box and used frequently enough to warrant keeping them in there. I talked about these brushes on another video, but just these nylon brushes, these are ones I use more frequently than any of the others. The kit comes with a whole bunch of them, but these are the ones I use more frequently. Anytime you're working with a sewing machine, you're going to have to sew. And there's a couple items here that will help out a lot for that. So you got some tweezers. When you're threading a machine, they help out a lot. And then scissors, little snips for cutting fabric. If I find some of the stuff on Amazon, I'll put some links in there to the stuff that I use. Here's another ratcheting screwdriver, a little ratcheting deal. I don't use this one quite as much as I use some of the others. Sometimes for a sewing machine, I will take this bit right here and just use this. So once you break it free, you just stick this on there and turn it, and I can do that a lot faster than I can even using this guy. So sometimes just the bit is good enough. Got a nice little ruler here, a metal ruler, which helps. And then the rest of this, I've got a bunch of tiny little here we go. Bunch of these guys, a bunch of little tiny ones. So this fits. I've got metric and everything's all mixed in here, but usually when you're working on a machine, you just try them until you find the right one. And these are sizes that I use quite frequently on machines. Here's another one of these brushes that I missed earlier. And then the rest of this is kind of useless-ish stuff. You know, some more bits for the screwdrivers. This, I thought I would need it, but I ended up not needing it, so this is not worth it. So I'm going to put this stuff back and move on because I got a lot of tools. Here's another little case, and I'll tell you, this has a dual purpose. So this has a bunch of bits in there. Pretty nice, very useful little kit of bits. And a little ratcheting screwdriver. So I use this when I was working on those industrial machines as a block. I basically use that as a wooden block. So when I flipped the machine on its side, this held the machine up while I worked underneath the machine. Could have brought one of these, but I didn't. That's a 2x4, which I keep at my workbench, and I did not bring that with me, so I probably should have. But this, turns out, worked just as well. I have gloves. So I had been using latex gloves a lot for cleaning, and I realized I was going through them really quickly and frequently. And I found these little grease busters at some store for real cheap. And they're just, you know, they're gloves that have been dipped on one side, and they keep the chemicals off your hands. And we'll talk about some of the chemicals I bring, but these are reusable, and they're better for the environment, and they're better for what I do. Yes, I brought hammers. I didn't use them. I have two hammers. I have the little light tappy tap guy. This has little nylon tips on it, so it won't hurt things that you bang on. It's very light as well. This one, I just brought it, you never know, but I did not use it. Okay. Something else that I brought, I grabbed a couple of wrenches. I'm getting ready to put this stuff away, that's why I'm kind of going through it. But I grabbed 3 different sizes for metric and standard, and wouldn't you know it, the smallest I brought was a 7/16, and I needed a 3/8, so that didn't help when I was there. But I brought those. Here's a bunch of tips for my screwdrivers that I use, and sometimes you can put sockets on this one. It's nice to have the square one there, and in different sizes, but yeah, that's just a few of those. Anytime you got to do wiring, you need to have a wire stripper. Didn't have to use that at all. All right, I'm not going to go through everything that's in here, but I'm going to go through some of the things that are important. If you notice, I've got these PVC pipes. Basically, they're all glued together, and that's what I hold my tools in with. That way, when you need pliers, you reach in, you grab your pliers, and you use your pliers, needle nose, right? Use your needle nose pliers, and when you're done, you put them back, and you don't have to move anything else to put those back. Also my screwdrivers. So on this side we have Phillips, the different sizes of Phillips heads. And then on this side we have standard screwdrivers, different sizes of these. The ones I use the most were these two guys. And the sizes are right there. This is all metric stuff because these are European. Wera brand, W-E-R-A. If I find those, I'll put them on a link. But they're very good screwdrivers. I love these things. They're awesome. I also, whenever I work on sewing machines, I want to bring out the big screwdrivers. So these are pretty big and or pretty long. And sometimes when you're doing a when you're doing the needle plate and you're trying to take that off, sometimes it's easier to put a long screwdriver down next to the head of the sewing machine and reach down there and get that needle plate screw than it is to take the little angle screwdriver and go in there with that. So sometimes these come in really handy. Another one that comes in handy, and I'm pretty sure I showed this one in another video, my parallel pliers. So when they move, they're parallel. So these pliers will not round off the head of your bolts that you use them on. And I did use these working on these sewing machines to work on the timing of the cam on those. When you use these kind of pliers, those teeth in there really gnarl up whatever you're using them on. And so I try not to use these very much. Another pair of pliers that I did actually use are these. So they're still set for the big bolt that was on the cam shaft, or holding the big cam plate on there. So these are Knipex something. But these, you get a lot of torque on these. You can use these, and they also have smooth jaws so that they don't tear up your bolts or nuts that you're using them on. So those are the big things. I also have a pair of scissors. Got a little scribe here, which gets used from time to time. In the back for cleaning, got some more of these. These are like pipe cleaner type dealies. I don't use these quite as frequently as I use the brushes, but they do get used. And then I threw some sockets in the back there too, but that's pretty much it for this toolbox or tool bag. This is what I take wherever I go. My tool bag goes with me, and all the tools are just kind of, if I change what I'm bringing, then I'll change whatever's hanging out in here. This stuff typically stays the same. Everything is standing up, stays the same. In fact, I use this in my workshop. So I use it here every time I work on a sewing machine. I have this bag, and it's on my cart. So there's that. Now let's talk chemicals. So the chemicals that I use were all highly recommended by other people. And so why reinvent the wheel when things work? Keep working them. Triflow grease, Triflow oil, isopropyl alcohol. Can you tell where I bought that? Nothing crazy. And then Krud cutter. I use a lot of Krud cutter on the machines, the industrial machines, because they just collect grease, and used a bunch of alcohol on them to make sure the Krud cutter gets out of there. And then I use this synthetic grease and Triflow oil. I love the tip on this thing because you can get it in pretty much anywhere. I do buy my Q-tips in bulk like this. So I use these wooden ones just because I'm fancy. You can use regular Q-tips if you want. And then my alcohol goes into this conditioner bottle. It's just alcohol. So reuse, reduce, reuse, recycle. I like the size of this bottle, so that's why I kept that. And these are going to go back to their home in the workshop. Okay. You can see there behind my workbench is another one of these, but I got these rags. I use quite a bit of these, or not rags, but like paper towels. And so these I bought in bulk, and I use those paper towels. They work very well. This is something that is amazing. I should probably get more of these, but this is a magnetic bowl. So whenever you're taking a machine apart, you put all your screws in here, and your screws do not end up going on the floor and flying across a factory floor. So those are very useful. Now we're getting into some of the stuff that I brought that was a little overkill. I got a bunch of baggies, didn't use any of them. This is my tension meter. That factory used really high tensions that this thing didn't really help me for. I just went by how it was sewing. And then I have a whole bunch of needles for various different types of machines in there. I got some razor blades that I did not use these razor blades. And then this is where my old needles go. I poked a little hole in the top there, and I put my needles in here to keep them safe. If I don't have the right size in my little toolbox, I've got the right size here. For my Allen wrenches. Or here. So these Allen wrenches are much stronger. I bought these just to make sure that I had something that was very strong. These are the T type. They also have the security holes. I haven't really found much of a use for these, but these are regular Allen wrenches, and these are a lot stronger and they don't twist when I'm trying to use them. So these are nice. And then do not go on a job site without your own light. I did this once. Worst thing I did. So I went to Harbor Freight, got me some lights. So these, there's also a light on the end. This one is like this. The thing that I like best about these is that they are magnetic, and you can stick it to the machine itself and then have light shining down from the machine. So both these are like that. This one doesn't rotate like that one does, but you know, these things work very well. This one is not rechargeable. It just has a regular batteries in there. This one is rechargeable, which means I use this one more often because I can just plug it into a USB charge right here and charge it up. So this one did last the whole time. It did start dying on me at the very end, but I had a backup. And yeah, the last thing, let's see, no. So I have some more sockets, but this is a socket kit, and I have another socket kit down there. I ended up, did use the 3/8 out of this because I didn't have the open end wrench. And so this one I use the 3/8 socket for. The last thing that I can show you, we're gonna pan down for this one, is the cart. So this cart, this is an IKEA cart. And you can see only modifications I made was I put a little hook on here. This is where my vacuum went. I keep some tape there. But this is also where I kept my trash bag. So this is still my trash bag from that. And I just had it hanging there. I would move my cart around, had my tools on top, had my trash bag right there, and all these other tools that I had were all residing on different trays on this cart. Worked out very well. And that's pretty much it. That's what I brought. So if you like this video, please consider subscribing. Also, I'm going to have some links to some tools that I use in the description. Those are affiliate links, so I do get a small bit of money if you buy any of these tools that I use. I am only putting them there because they're tools that I actually use. Let's go ahead and show you the massive craziness. These are actually tools that I use, and I'm not going to try and sell you something that I wouldn't use myself. So this is it. This is what I use. This bag is very heavy. Oh, goodness. But it works. And I did bring too much stuff, but I'm glad I did. And I didn't find myself lacking or unable to do anything because of the amount of tools that I brought. So worked out very well. Please, again, consider subscribing and give me some comments. Let me know, did you like what I use? Do you think I should have brought something different? Do you think I missed something? Do you think I brought way too much and could have consolidated more? Just let me know. Thank you very much for watching. This has been the Sewing Machine Repair Guy.